I'm going to do something here that I absolutely hate to watch and hate worse to do, and that is to show you an unboxing of the new Mobius 2. And the only reason I'm doing this is because it actually does come in a box. Imagine that. I know those of you who have bought the Mobius found it just comes in a mailing pouch, but this one is in a box. Very nice. Got a magnetic catch on it and everything, but I'm going to do this fairly quickly. Inside is the new Mobius 2. I'm going to take the lens cap off and show you right away how it compares with existing Mobius with lens C2. The Mobius 2 lens is slightly less field of view than the Mobius C2, but it is still a wide angle. The case size is very close to the Mobius, not identical. Height-wise, it's maybe a millimeter or so higher on the case, but the actual lens protrusion is considerably less, as you can see. The width, Mobius 2 is maybe, again, I haven't measured these, but it's maybe a millimeter, maybe two, wider. The thickness is practically the same, virtually identical. There is no horizontal slot on the Mobius 2 to slide into the Mobius case because it won't quite fit for one obvious reason, but Mobius 2 doesn't have a sliding attachment piece like that, at least not yet. The bottom of the case has 4 screw holes there for a tripod mount. I'll show you in a minute. It's got some ventilation holes. But the other big difference is the buttons are on the side of the Mobius 2, not the top. Again, it's got a power mode and shutter button just like the Mobius does. And they function pretty much the same. The LED is basically gives the same indications. There's no heat sink on the top because it's basically on the bottom here with these brass screws and a plate underneath. And there's an LED light pipe on the top, but also one on the side by the buttons, and a small one on the rear. I'll turn this on so you can see that. The advantage to this is you don't have the heatsink. You can kind of mount it flat either way and still have access to the buttons. In some cases, like if you're mounting this on a gimbal, as I am, the camera I'm shooting this right now is another Mobius 2 on my DJI Phantom 2, and that gimbal has the buttons right up against the motor side. I can just barely reach them to turn it on and start it recording without some kind of a pointed object, but that's one disadvantage to it. But again, if you're mounting it top or bottom, you always have access to the side buttons otherwise, which is an advantage. On the back, you'll notice another difference here. When I get both of these upright, pointing the same way, you can see that the USB port and the memory card port are on opposite sides of the circuit board. What that means for the most part is if you're using a right angle plug on the USB port, it's going to point the opposite way on the Mobius 2 than it does on the Mobius. So that could cause you some problems depending upon how you're using the camera. I don't think these are coming with a memory card. I can't confirm that. They're going to be supposed to be published on the developers' 2 eBay websites this Thursday, coming Thursday, May 26th, for sale for $89 US, which is a pretty good price, I think. I doubt if it comes with the memory card. I got mine from the developer, and he's been using Samsung Evo cards. This one's a class, they're all been class 10, and they worked perfectly. This one's 16 megabyte. And you're going to need larger cards because if you're using the higher data rates of this, you're going to need them. File sizes are much bigger. Inside this box also is what else comes in the package. Not a whole lot. You get, this is the tripod mount that I mentioned. It goes on the bottom here with 4 screws. A couple pieces of sticky back Velcro in there. You have a USB plug, a cord I should say. It's quite short. I was kind of surprised by that. It's maybe, I don't know, 16 inches long or so. I don't know if they did that. I don't think it's a cost-saving thing. I think it's probably to make it more reliable, just keeping the cord as short as possible. It feels like it's pretty well made, but those of you who had the Mobius may know that the cords that came with those were longer and prone to failure. So hopefully this is better. The Mobius 2 has a 10-pin mini USB plug in it, not a 5-pin like the Mobius. But you can use a standard 5-pin USB to do the routine things like loading firmware, retrieving files, configuring the camera. All that can be done with a standard USB cord. Longer term, there may be some additional functions available on the 10-pin. Right now, that's not the case. And finally in here is a video out cable, and there's nothing too special about this, I guess. It's got some quite long leads here. All the black leads are common. They all join together up here at the top. And you have red and black, white and black, and yellow and black. Mine weren't labeled. Usually they are. Maybe the release ones will have when they're all ready to go. Red and black I assume is power and ground. White and black should be audio out. Available during playback only, not during live feed. And yellow and black is video out. So that's what comes in the basic package. I'm going to post some sample video on Dropbox that you guys can download and see the raw video from it. I do want to point out this camera is still a work in progress. It's not going to have all the functions that it's going to eventually have. Right now it's got a white balance shifting problem that we're still working on, but rather than delay the release of this any longer, we've decided to roll it out, get more user feedback while we work on the white balance problem. But I think you'll find that the video is extremely sharp, better than the Mobius. The 1080p 60 is flawless. The 720p 120 frame per second mode is pretty flawless in terms of no drop frames. Some of you are going to have problems playing those files because the data rates can be very high, and I think the development of this is going to continue through the summer. We're not going to give up on it by any stretch. In fact, we'll be expanding it to include all the functions. When I open the Mobius 2 thread, which is under construction, some of you have seen it already. Please don't post in it yet. I want to get the basic files in there up front that explain everything so you don't have questions that you have to post. That's basically it. It's been a long time. I'm glad we're at least getting it out into the user base, and I hope you'll find it worthwhile and worth the money, and it's only going to get better, believe me. Thanks for watching.